Hey everybody, Jimmy here with the Triple C Collective for Superhero Saturday. Today, we're dropping our review of Spider-Man: No Way Home. Woo! I know it's the first one of the MCU that we're doing, or that we've done, and that we're going to release here. We're still debating on if we're going to do a look back and do everything else, like all four phases, like the entire Infinity Saga. If we might just take our favorite ones from the Infinity Saga, or if we're also, I know we're going to do ones for everything that came out in 2021, like all or 2020 and 2021, like WandaVision, all of that. We will be releasing those here shortly. But this first one, Spider-Man: No Way Home, really excited about it. I freaking loved this movie. Just at the top here, going to be a ton of spoilers for this. So at this point, if you haven't seen it already, I feel sorry for you, but do not watch this. Do not watch this before watching Spider-Man: No Way Home. Or unless you really, really don't care about spoilers, then knock yourself out. Watch this all you want before you see it. But anyhow, as I said, okay, I gave this a little spoiler warning. All right, so let's. So yeah, gave you guys a spoiler warning. We'll walk through some of my favorite things. Not exactly like a exact like beat by beat kind of thing, like how I did with last night in Soho. However, we are gonna be here for a little bit, so strap in, people. I gotta say, this movie opened like awesomely, the exact same way that all of the Spider-Man movies have kind of actually opened. Like where the last time we kind of saw Spider-Man is where this opens. Um, so it's all been really great. Homecoming starts at the end of Civil War, uh, and then we get Far From Home, Far From Home ending basically after Endgame, and then we have this No Way Home ending or beginning right after the events of Far From Home. So again, spoilers for Spider-Man: Far From Home, the second MCU Sony collab that they did. Is we start right after Mysterio has been killed and has released the information of who Peter Parker is, and that's where this whole movie begins. And let me tell you, what a way to start it off, because then we see like Spider-Man like throwing his hands up, and his like the eyes get all big and everything. It's one of my favorite things about the costume that they do is that they have like the Spider-Man eyes like react to him and stuff. Oh, it's great. It's great. I love it so much. But this was a solid opening. You open it like right there. You continue it going. You continue Spider-Man's narrative that way. We also get jump shot or cut shots to like Mary Jane, and people around her are like, "Wait a second, you date Peter Parker, right? So, are you Spider-Man's girlfriend?" And like stuff. Spider-Man pops in. Peter Parker, Tom Holland, pops in, grabs her, and then we get an amazing like whipping fly web slinging like through the city. It's great. It's great. I love it. It has this really almost parkour kind of feel to it, but also at the same time it has like one of those like steady cam kind of things. Like the one thing I can think of it like most vividly that comes to mind is from Requiem for a Dream. God, I forget which Wayne's it is. But he runs out after like a sting operation basically, and you see him like running, and they got the camera in front of him. It's like a rig that they hook up and stuff, but like they use that same kind of like rig and style to be used for Zendaya and stuff, like seeing like looking at her as they're like web slinging throughout the city. It's like really cool. It's a really great way to open the movie. Like, I freaking loved it. I thought it was so cool. I thought it was great. We also get, obviously, since it's opening with the news report that we saw at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, we have J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, actually, like, in this movie now. Because after we see the report of him and, like, Peter and Mary Jane, we actually see him, like, in his little, like, newsroom thing that he's, like, doing out of his garage or whatever, and like, with the green screen behind him and everything. And it's really great. It's really awesome. I love seeing J.K. Simmons come back as J. Jonah Jameson. It's like, he was just so good. And it makes sense that even in a multiverse movie, like, he was teased before, again in, like, that mid-credit scene end of Far From Home, and it was just so refreshing to see him again. Excuse me. I like that he actually plays a little bit more of a role. Like, he's not a main player in this, but we do see him from time to time throughout the movie. Like, we see him like 2 or 3 other times after this, which is really great. Like, again, I just love J.K. Simmons. Like, he's a fantastic actor. This is a different version of J. Jonah Jameson as well, which is really cool, because he still has that, like, I guess, for lack of a better word, that voice, that J. Jonah Jameson voice still. But the way that that J.K. Simmons, like, plays J. Jonah Jameson is different. Like, the body language that he uses, the way that he composes himself and everything. We don't see the J. Jonah Jameson, like, the J.K. Simmons, like, laughing meme that, like, we all know, or GIF that we all know. And so like, we're not even, like, 10 minutes into this movie, and I'm just, like, already, like, doe-eyed, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool, this is so great. And I haven't even got into the good stuff yet. Like, this is this is the appetizer. Peter and MJ Zendaya go to Peter's Aunt May's apartment. He swings there. That was their final. That's where they wanted to end up. Peter and MJ get inside Peter's room just as Happy hears them, like, come in, and Peter's undressing from his Spider-Man outfit, costume, suit, whatever. And so he's unchanging from it. Happy walks in with him half unchanged, and MJ, like, fully changed, and is like, whoa, I didn't see anything, I'm sorry. And, like, that's really funny. It's also apparently the first time that that MJ has met May, because May walks in and out really quick, like, walks in, turns around, and then turns back in, and it's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And it's like, hi, I'm MJ and stuff. It's really funny. It's really great. It's hilarious. Then we get Peter spinning around like a top throughout the apartment. We also find out that Happy and May have split. But Peter is trying to tell Happy and May that their lives are about to change, because everyone now knows that he's Peter Parker. Everyone now assumes that, based on the Daily Bugle and the J. Jonah Jameson report, that Peter has killed Mysterio. And it is they give us a huge montage of news reports. We get, like, Peter being federally investigated, all of his friends being interrogated by the FBI. We get, like, May and, like, the FBI, like, saying they're going to charge her with child endangerment because, like, despite everything we have seen Peter Parker and Spider-Man do, he's still in high school, about to graduate, trying to get into MIT, and different colleges and stuff. You know, you always got to have a backup. Um, but then this is now I'm going to talk about a spoiler for No Way Home and for one of the Marvel TV shows here. But first, we're going to talk about the No Way Home because this is the No Way Home review. So for here, huge spoiler. If you don't want to know it, stop listening because I know I'm going to repeat this throughout the rest of the podcast, the rest of this. So please stop listening. Go see No Way Home and then come back. Otherwise, spoilers are coming. I've warned you. We get Matt Murdock. We get Mother effing Daredevil. We get Charlie Cox from Netflix Daredevil back in the MCU, which is huge. Now, the thing is that if you have been watching all of the Marvel stuff and you are up to date by the time No Way Home was released on December 17th, then you would have also have seen that the Kingpin shows up in a picture, a blurry image on a cell phone, which is like really funny if you think about it. And you see the Kingpin in a blurry cell phone picture with Haley Steinfeld's mother, Eleanor, Vera Farmiga, in that Hawkeye show. So that's the first tipping point of being like, oh, the Netflix stuff is a part of the MCU. Then we see Charlie Cox's Daredevil in No Way Home. That's the 1-2 punch. And then the knockout is when, spoilers, in the last episode of Hawkeye, you full on see Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin back in the MCU. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring back Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I don't see them bringing back Finn Jones as Iron Fist, but I don't know. Crazier things can have happened. I mean, we've got the merging of, you know, Marvel MCU and Marvel Netflix finally with this. So that's really cool. It's really great. That's a rumor that had kind of been out there for a little bit. I actually kind of thought if they were going to bring in Daredevil again, like Charlie Cox's Daredevil, I actually thought it would have been with She-Hulk because she is also She-Hulk is also a lawyer, so that just made sense. That I'm sure he's probably still going to show up in it, but that's where I thought that they would have at least like put him, because then I also want to see Foggy Nelson come back as well. That'd be great. When Daredevil shows up, again, it's Charlie Cox dressed as Matt Murdock. He looks a little bit different. He has different glasses, a little bit different hairstyle, and he is great in the 2 to 3 minutes that we see him on screen, and he's excellent in every little bit of it. It was just great to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil come back and be in like the MCU officially. When Charlie Cox first came on screen, I threw my arm over at my brother, like how you do when you're like slamming on your brakes, trying to avoid like an accident or something when you're driving. Like, I threw my arm out at him. I was like, oh my God. And he was not happy about that because I hit him in the chest, and he just wasn't expecting that. He was not happy. Especially in the middle of the movie. But yeah, this was really great. I saw it with my brother. Again, we're like maybe all of 12 minutes into this movie, and like for me, I'm just loving every little bit of it. Like everything, like even the non-story stuff really has just been great for me so far. Now in here we do get a good bit of information with Matt Murdock. He explains to Happy that Happy has to explain like where this Stark tech went. Like it just kind of just gone poof, like missing. Like he needs to find that. Like Peter, he does say that he's a very good lawyer, and then catches a brick that's thrown through the window. and like it's the first sign that like Peter starts seeing like people outside him are like outside of himself are now kind of starting to be affected by this, and it's like it's it's all great. I love it. I love what they're setting up here for it of like the bigger stories that can be told, and like the intimate like the bigger stories between all of these characters and all of these moving pieces, but also seeing like the intimate stories of where we can get like really great personal connections between one and two characters and stuff again to like build like a new Tony Steve relationship going into the future here. Like you're getting little pieces and stuff of that all over this, and it's been great. It's been awesome to watch, and also then we have Jon Favreau as Happy making a Goodfellas joke to Marissa Tomei about like pleading about pleading the fifth, which is just like really fun. Which is just really great. You get Marissa Tomei's Aunt May is just like, no, don't do that now. It's all just really funny, and like I don't know if other people found that joke as funny as I did, because I understood that, I guess, but I don't know, and that's something completely outside of the MCU and stuff. Then we get the like Peter and May decide to move into Happy's apartment because he still has a bunch of the Stark tech and the Stark like laced, I guess for lack of a better word, apartment with all that Stark tech and all that Stark protection. So May and Peter move there. Then we get a montage of Peter getting rejected and him and his friends getting rejected from college due to everything that's been going on, and Peter goes to Doctor Strange and asks Doctor Strange to do something crazy. Says that, hey, me and my friends, like, me being outed as Peter Parker being outed as Spider-Man is really heavily affecting other people other than myself, and I would like to change that. Is there anything that we can? Excuse me. Is there anything you can do for me to turn back time so that like we can stop that report from ever happening? We find out that Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme due to the blip. He was gone for 5 years. On a technicality, Wong is, and then we see Wong leave. Doctor Strange agrees to do the spell. While they're doing the spell, Peter then is like, okay, so everyone in the world is about to forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And he's like, whoa, we can't have that. We can't have everyone forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Like, I need my Aunt May, I need Ned, I need MJ. Like, I need people to know who I am in this. So he ends up changing the spell that Doctor Strange is casting 5 times. And this is where it all goes wrong. Strange almost loses control of the spell. Peter is pleading with Doctor Strange to continue to help him figure out whatever they need to do to like try and help MJ and Ned get into college. And Doctor Strange then finds out that Peter didn't even appeal his rejection letters in any way. So Doctor Strange kicks him out, as Doctor Strange has now got that spell handled and under control, and does not want to deal with Peter because Peter didn't even attempt to go to MIT or any of the schools that he was, or call any of them and be like, no, you should really accept me, and like plead his case. This leads Peter to call Flash Thompson, who he knows is at a MIT mixer. The admissions woman that Peter needed to talk to had just left, and Flash says, "You know what I want in order for me to give you like all of this information that you need about the admissions lady." And he's like, Peter agrees that Flash Thompson is his best friend and is Spider-Man's best friend, based on the Flashpoint book that we see Flash Thompson has written, which is just all sorts of funny, all in its own. Peter leaves, goes to a bridge where this woman is heading to the airport, and Peter's suit isn't connected to the Stark network, so he has no use of like Edith or anything like that. And this, while he's talking, he finds the admissions lady in her car because there's heavy traffic on the way to the airport. While he's talking with her, pleading his case about MJ and Ned getting into MIT, he gets his Peter tingle, as they call it in this series of movies, but we all know it to be the spider sense. Just the tingle thing. I just love, love that that's what they call it. It's so funny. We get this. Tom Holland's Spider-Man gets this tingle, and we see what we saw in the trailers of the intro of Dr. Octopus, and we see Doc Ock's intro, his little tentacle, not as little, but the tentacle arms popping through the street, throwing cars around like, they're nothing, like they're rag dolls. And we get Alfred Molina back. Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2. Arguably, there's been a few other movies that have come out. I can really only think of like one or two that are kind of up there superhero-wise that are in the same caliber of like Spider-Man 2 of like greatest of all time. And it's definitely in the conversation for like greatest sequel of all time. It's up there with, Dark Knight, Empire, Aliens, all of it. All of them. Godfather 2. Spider-Man 2 is great. And Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 and Alfred Molina in Spider-Man 2 is just directed by Sam Raimi. It's just a knockout. It's just one of the best. Everybody knows that. I don't think anybody is going to argue on the other side of it. So it was really great seeing Alfred Molina come back, and like it was just great. It was just really awesome to see him come back, and like he did it good. He came back with the same quality and caliber of like acting and delivery and like line readings that like you really expected and wanted. I really liked him. I really liked his whole intro into all of this. It was so good. One of the best things outside of seeing Alfred Molina as like Doc Ock, like this was the first time that I cried in the movie, because it was tears of joy. So I was like, oh my god, it's so great. Even though I saw some of this stuff in the trailer, like it was awesome. I also loved when Doc Ock has Peter like one-on-one inside one of his tentacle arms and sees Tom Holland's face and is like, you're not my Peter Parker. You're not Peter Parker. And then it's just like if you didn't get it already, like he is from another universe with another Peter Parker who is Spider-Man. Like crazy. Looks different. This is just great. It's so awesome. While also on the bridge, Peter, via the nanotechnology that climbs onto Doc Ock's like arms and stuff, Peter is able to hook up via Bluetooth, oddly, funnily enough, through his Iron Spider suit, is able to hook up Bluetooth to Doc Ock's arms, like tentacle arms, and takes control of them. So he moves him and Doc Ock up there. He saves the admissions lady, who decides that she's going to talk to everybody else at MIT and have them at least reconsider their applications and see what she can do about all three of them. And Peter's like, this isn't about me. I just want to make sure that those two, and she's like, about all three of you. And so like that was really good. Right? It was really great. Then we hear what we also saw from the trailer, the amazing, creepy, demented, my favorite villain. I know after everything I just said about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, I still really, really like that first one because my ultimate Spider-Man villain is the Green Goblin / Hobgoblin, depending on the story, but that's something completely different. So seeing Willem Dafoe, hearing Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn Green Goblin laugh again was just fantastic here. And we only get a little snippet. We only get a little snippet of it. We hear a laugh, and then we see we see one of his pumpkin bombs drop down and blow up. And then we hear his laugh, and he goes away. Doctor Strange brings Peter and Doc Ock back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Doc Ock is put into a holding cell of some kind, where there is also the Lizard, that Doctor Strange, the Lizard, which is the villain from the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, which is also really good. I've always had I've had my problems with the way that the movies have done the Lizard. Just because my favorite look of the Lizard character is really from the animated series from the early 90s that they did, where he kind of looks he has more of it like an alligator type face, with that's really he looks more like an alligator. So I don't know, I've always just kind of liked that longer kind of lizard, alligator type face, whereas in the Amazing Spider-Man and in this one, as cool as it is seeing the Lizard back again, they still just give him a round little face. I don't know. I wanted a different design of the Lizard. I was hoping they would have messed with that a little bit, but they didn't. But that's okay. To be fair, the Lizard is pretty is used very limitedly throughout the rest of the movie, and I am I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. It was great seeing him back, and but I was really here for Doc Ock and Green Goblin. That's who I wanted to see. I was actually pretty shocked that Lizard was there. I didn't know if there was. I don't know if I remember seeing him in a trailer or not. Beside the point. So the Goblin shows up. They're back at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Strange then sends Peter, says we need, you see, so this guy and this guy. Doctor Strange actually does a really great conversation with Doc Ock. You have a Spider-Man from where you're from, yep. And in Spider-Man's Peter Parker, right? Does he look like this? Nope. Or is that him? Nope. Exactly. So that's how Doctor Strange right away is able to tell that that when he was trying to do the spell to make everyone forget Peter Parker, anyone who knew Peter Parker was being pulled in to their world. And so with that, it caused Doc Ock to show up, caused Green Goblin to show up, caused the Lizard to show up. So now Doctor Strange says, I need you to help me and figure out where the rest of these, you know, basically rift breakthroughs are so that we can send them back to where they need to be and we can continue on, our happy go lucky day. And it is, it's really great. Peter then tells, Doctor Strange that the only way I will be able to do any of this is with my team, my people. So I need MJ and Ned here. And he's like, fine. MJ and Peter goes gets MJ and Ned. They show up at the Sanctum Sanctorum. And then Doctor Strange just tells them to Scooby Doo this shit and figure it out and make it work. And that's what they do. They the team teenagers start scouring the internet for different stories about what's going on. Anything weird that stands out. They find a story about a monster like showing up in the sky and disappearing, and they didn't know how to. They found out the location of that and of like where things were kind of going. And here we get the intro of Electro, and we get Sandman. So Peter gets this cool black and gold suit that we've seen in the trailer. He gets a sling ring from Doctor Strange, and he gets this thing that basically shoots out magic lasso. That's like a gauntlet thing for Spider-Man that will transport these people from other dimensions, other universes, back to Doctor Strange's like holding cells that they have beneath the Sanctum Sanctorum. And so all of this is great. It is really awesome. Peter gets there. We see, like, for me, when I first saw this the first time in theaters, I actually thought that this was Venom. I thought we were seeing the symbiote Venom here, because when Peter's walking through, we see like something moving up and down, kind of like liquidy. So I thought it was the symbiote Venom, like that got pulled in here, and it's just like walking around like the tree lines, like trying to figure out, like, especially if this thing's like black and gold. Venom is like usually seen as like a black and white. So it's like it might be a similar type thing. It's not sure looking out, but I was wrong. That turned out to be Sandman. And then the other person we get here near the electrical lines, obviously, is Jamie Foxx's Electro. Jamie Foxx and Sandman and Spider-Man all have a little fight. Spider-Man and Sandman versus Jamie Foxx. Really, it's just to knock Jamie Foxx out of the Jamie Foxx's Electro, who showed up in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then Sandman, God, I forget who plays him right now off the top of my head. He is from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Trying to figure this out. Wow, Spider-Man 3, 2007. Hoo-wee. And Thomas Hayden Church. That's right. So yes, Thomas Hayden Church, Sandman, does a great job. It was great to, again, Sandman and Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, I just always kind of felt was like a mess. I didn't like Sandman's storyline on the fact that they kind of rewrote that universe's origin story to include Sandman as like a pivotal person at like as a pivotal person included with the death of Uncle Ben, like as the other guy, like working with the guy that eventually would kill Uncle Ben. And so it was just it was just weird, kind of like the lizard. Didn't really eh didn't really care about seeing them back in here. But Electro was cool because they gave Electro, they did what I was hoping that they would have done with Lizard, in that they gave like a real redesign to it. Like Jamie Foxx's Electro isn't like all goofy and like disheveled looking and stuff. Even the suit that he ends up wearing later is like way more comic looking and comics accurate. I mean, I don't know about accurate, but it's more comics looking than like the blue skinned and weird blueness that we got from Jamie Foxx in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So yeah, but either way, it was I loved it. This was a really fun scene, seeing them all together now. Peter gets Electro, Peter with the help of Sandman, get Electro down from the electrical wires. They make a Terminator joke because Jamie Foxx is butt naked from this, and it's hilarious. They find Tom Holland's Spider-Man finds some clothes for Jamie Foxx, gives it to him, and then Jamie Foxx gets sent back to Doctor Strange's holding cell, and then Peter and Sandman go back there as well. Peter talks with Ned, and MJ says that he's going to go back there, clean up, make sure that he doesn't get blamed for that. After he's done cleaning up, he gets a call from Aunt May. And this call from Aunt May is a little bit disturbing. It makes Peter go running, because Aunt May is saying that one of the people from the other dimensions, other universes, is here at her shelter looking for help, trying to figure out who Peter Parker is, trying to get some answers about what's going on. So Peter comes coming in hot, trying to make sure that his Aunt May is safe, and that everybody here is safe. This is the reintroduction now again of Norman Osborn. Who we saw on the bridge before was the Green Goblin. Who we see here is Norman Osborn, who is a confused man, not sure where he is or how he got here. May, after Peter talks with Norman, decides to take him back. May drives Peter and Norman back to Doctor Strange, lets them out, and then they start to formulate a plan of what they want to do next. And Strange, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, wants to heal them all. Wants to see if they can heal all of these people here, whereas Doctor Strange just wants to send them back to their universes, and despite them all dying in their universes. Peter Parker, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, says this isn't possible. They can't. He can't allow that. He doesn't want that to happen. So Peter tries to stop Doctor Strange. This brings up the Mirrorverse, which is where we saw the train multiply and the things, and it all incepted, right? It all looked all crazy like that. This was a lot of fun. This was really good. This was super like trippy. It was awesome because In this, we see Spider-Man outsmart Doctor Strange with math beating magic, which I thought was cool. Um, I just thought it was really neat. Obviously, Spider-Man had to somehow get a little bit of an upper hand at some point in this, and we saw it, and they did a really great job with it. Excuse me. I just liked how good the visuals looked for it. Like everything melding in, and like it's some sort of geometric shape that again, I don't remember the word of right now because I didn't actually put it into my notes, but it's a geometric shape that Peter says, and he's like, "Hey, you're pretty good at math. I'm pretty good at math. You like math. You can do this." He figures it out, and that's how he traps Doctor Strange. Traps Doctor Strange. He's able to take Doctor Strange's sling ring. He's able to take the box that has the reset button on it for the spell that kind of went awry here. And Peter then leaves the Mirrorverse and goes back to goes back with MJ and Ned and works on curing all of the villains. The next thing we see is all of the all Peter taking all of the villains to Happy's apartment to start working on the experiments there, because the Happy has a big machine that basically can fabricate anything sitting in his apartment. And with Happy having that stuff there, Peter is able to really run the experiments that he wants to, that he needs to be able to fix, to be able to help fix and heal people. And so what he does is he starts with Doc Ock, and they fix his chip. And this is amazing. This is so cool. We get to see Alfred Molina give as much as a villain we really see him be in all of like Spider-Man 2 up until the very end, and how he is introduced here. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. It is great to see like the caliber of Alfred Molina as an actor to flip that switch of being like the crazed sadistic person to somebody of relief, of showing relief, and great relief and great sorrow and pain for like clearly understanding like what they were doing but not having the ability or the say so to control it, which is always an interesting concept. And I just loved all of this. One of my favorite things is while they're working on the experiments and stuff for Doc Ock, or even before that actually, Green Goblin Willem Dafoe says, I'm something of a scientist myself, which is like a callback to what he first says to Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker when they first meet after Peter graduates with the Science Award from Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man. And so like all of that's really great. There's nothing but love for all of the there's nothing but love for all of these characters that had come before and how we're seeing them here. And as much as I don't really care to see the Lizard and Sandman again, it's cool that we are seeing them like these are villains that have been established before, and it was cool to see these villains pulled in like it. But by far seeing now Doc Ock, seeing Doc Ock cured, having Green Goblin, Norman Osborn like help out with that, like all of these characters are really starting to like get their chance to play and like give us another taste at everyone got another crack at it. Everyone was able to get another crack at it, giving their character their spin on their character, another chance, and it was great. It was awesome. And so they're talking in the apartment about going after Norman Osborn, not going after, but helping to cure Norman Osborn because they were able to get an electrical thing onto Electro that will absorb all of his power. Um, Now they're working on Green Goblin, and this is where things start to go a little sideways because you can never ever trust Norman Osborn. And that's what happens. Spider-Man gets his little tingle after he makes up his cure for Norman Osborn, and Norman Osborn then starts to act a little bit differently and moves away, and Peter web shoots him and has him stick to a machine as Norman Osborn then convinces Sandman, Electro, and himself to leave and not be cured and be themselves here in this world as they were and live in this world now. And it is crazy. It is wild because Electro, Jamie Foxx's guy, tosses his power dampener, rips his power dampener off, pulls the arc reactor that they found powering the fabrication machine in the back, puts that onto himself, and then we get Doc Ock. Then we get the Battle of the Apartment, and the Battle of the Apartment is insane. Like I said, Electro takes the arc. Sandman goes out the window that Doc Ock is falling through, but eventually catches himself with his tentacles. And then Peter and the Green Goblin are fighting. And this is where I am going to take a quick break because I need to switch the batteries on my camera. So hold on 1 second. Once I come back, we will talk more about the Green Goblin and Spider-Man's fight in Happy's apartment. So hold on. Okay, everyone. So, sorry about that. Now, I am back, and I am ready to continue talking. Before that little break there, talking about Spider-Man and Green Goblin fighting inside Happy's apartment and then trashing it. And they destroy the apartment, they destroy a whole bunch of the building. Peter has Aunt May run out of there. Excuse me. Try and escape. Peter and the Goblin calls the glider eventually. Oh my gosh. Before I go any further, the thing that I need to talk about first is back when we meet the Green Goblin, because I talked about this for the costumes for Electro, and what we see later on. It gets better as the thing goes on. Doc Ock doesn't really change, but he's great the entire time. Green Goblin, when he is meeting with May, and then when Peter gets there, he's wearing a big purple kind of hoodie poncho type thing, and it's purple with his Green Goblin mask or body armor and stuff underneath it. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. That's really cool and really close to comics accurate Green Goblin costume. It's great. I loved it. Have to say you see him in that the entire time. You see him in that in this battle, but in this battle fighting with Peter and stuff, some of that stuff starts to fall off, and then it really does look like the ripped up kind of portions that like the Green Goblin has from like comics and like the animated stuff. And like, man, it was so good. It was being a Green Goblin fan, and especially being a Willem Dafoe like Green Goblin fan. It was really great seeing all of this stuff. Like, it's so much fun. It's so cool, and like Willem Dafoe is just the best. He's so good, and like all of the villains are really great in this. Like, all of the acting is really great in this, but damn, Willem Dafoe just, I feel, just like takes the cake. He just steals it right out from the rest of them. And so in this battle, they get in. Green Goblin and Peter Parker are in the lobby. Aunt May's trying to sneak out, and the Goblin, in like destroying part of a wall, pumpkin bomb going off. He takes his glider towards May, and he stabs her with it. May is hurt. Peter sees that May is hurt, but thinks that it is not fatal, but it is. And this is where I bawled. I cried a lot. I really liked Miss Marissa Tomei's Aunt May, but before she dies, before she passes, she gives Peter the "with great power comes great responsibility" speech, and oh man, I don't know if I might start crying now, just thinking about it. Oh, it's so good, it's so beautiful. But Marissa Tomei gives it to Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and I loved it. I like. I didn't. I well. Let me. I loved that in this series of movies that they have placed Marissa Tomei and Aunt May as the main proponent of who Tom Holland's Peter Parker is. I do have a question, which was raised when I was listening to another podcast, the Ringerverse, about the Midnight Boys, their reaction. It brings up a good point, is that usually it's the death of Uncle Ben that makes Peter Spider-Man. So since we don't see the death, and it's that speech of "with great power comes great responsibility" that propels Peter Parker usually to become Spider-Man, and since we've never seen an Uncle Ben or his death or anything here, what made Peter be Spider-Man then? Was it seeing like the people like Iron Man and the Avengers and him wanting to do something more because he had the special powers? Because they don't really say like what that proponent really is to it for Spider-Man, for him to do it, because it's like Tony Stark just kind of finds him on YouTube, basically, is the way they kind of hint at it. He sees himself, like, found videos of Spider-Man on YouTube, and then he actually finds them. So I just have a question about that. Interesting question. If I've missed something and they answered that somewhere, please let me know. I would love to remember that. But it was the only question that I really had, and fuck, man. But the death of Aunt May was really tough. It like really hit me very difficultly the second time I saw this. Because I actually saw this twice in theaters. But yeah, I really loved this. This movie was so good, and it was really sad to see Aunt May die, but like I love the remix that they've done to like Spider-Man and like Peter Parker and all of that, that they've done here in the MCU. So it's been cool to see. If there's one thing that the MCU has always done, is like taken characters and made me like care about him. Now the difference is that I've always cared about Spider-Man. I've always loved Spider-Man, so that's why I say like at least in the case of Spider-Man, like this remix version that we got of him, um, is has been really great. Like the little changes and stuff that they've made throughout, like of what you would call like his canon characters and like his supporting cast and stuff. It's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and so like with all of that, like um, I I like that they gave, they didn't just like kill Aunt May like Marissa Tomei, like they gave her like a good death in that sense. Like she like propels Peter now, like in Spider-Man lore, like that's what happens. And if this is like a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people have had a complaint that he's like Spider Boy, but I also think he's still learning to be Spider Man. But like at this point, I think this might flip a switch for him. This might be that like real like Tony Stark's death like hurt, but this might be the real one that is the equivalent to like when we saw Uncle Ben die in Tobey Maguire's movie, or when we saw Uncle Ben die in Andrew Garfield's movie. This Marissa Tomei death here is on that par of importance for Tom Holland. Um, so it sucked. It really sucked to see it, but the speech was beautiful. Marissa Tomei, like that whole scene and stuff, was really nice and beautiful together. I just, I, I liked it. I stood by the choice of them making that in this movie. And then of course we get Happy rolling up in his van, like in his car, trying to put Happy in between the oncoming soldiers that are starting to take shots inside at Tom Holland's Peter Parker. We see him. We see Happy tell Peter to run, and that's what he does. He tells his Aunt May, that he's so sorry, and he leaves. Happy then gets out of his car and is arrested. Peter goes away. Then we cut to Mary Jane and Ned sitting at Ned's I think aunt's, maybe grandmother's house, and this is where everything changes. Ned has the sling ring, and he says a couple of times like, "Where is Peter Parker?" And like you get the of like the magic, like about to open like a portal or whatever, and they're like, Ned and MJ are watching the news report, seeing that there was an explosion and a death at Happy's apartment. Spider-Man's not anywhere to be found. Peter is not picking up any of his phone calls or texting back. So they don't know what to do. So since they started seeing like the little flickering of things from the sling ring with Ned, he starts doing it, and he says, "Show me Peter Parker." And a portal opens. And who do we see? We see a Spider-Man. We see Spider-Man down there. And they start calling, "Hey, Peter, Peter, hey, Peter, come here." Peter comes running down in his Spider-Man suit, jumping out. And then I notice the symbol on the chest, and it is not Tom Holland's symbol. We get the reveal of, major spoiler, Andrew Mother effing Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man. Holy cow. That, like, I lost it. I was crying tears of joy when I saw this because I was like, no way they did not do this. No way they didn't just do this. After after making me cry, you make me cry again? Tears of joy though this time? Ah, I hate you. I hate you, Marvel. I hate you, MCU. You too, Sony. You suck too. But no, I was shocked. I know there was like rumors and stuff about it, like Andrew Garfield was saying that like no, I wasn't there. I never looked into those pictures and stuff or like any of that like going into it. I'll watch trailers, but I don't go looking for any of that other kind of stuff anymore. It's just not fun. I just don't care. So I was like genuinely surprised. And then like there's a great little bit with Andrew Garfield having to prove himself that he really is a Peter Parker. He's standing from like the wall like with his hands like up on the ceiling. I'm sorry, up on the ceiling like that. He goes and cleans a cobweb. Ned says, "Show me Peter Parker again." And this time I also lost it because spoilers, it's Tobey Maguire. They At this point watching it in a theater, I was like, "Oh my god, they didn't just do this. This isn't happening. There's no way this is happening." And then Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield have their own little back and forth, shooting webs at each other. Ned asks if they, Ned's Lola asks if they could clean up all of that webbing, and then the two, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, MJ, and Ned all are working on trying to figure out where Peter is and how they can all work together to like get them all back home and like fix all of this. So so Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker asks Zendaya's MJ, is there a place where he would go to just be alone, be by himself? And of course she thinks about it or she knows it because it's at the beginning of the movie. It's where her and Peter go to get away from everything, is on this rooftop, and of course Ned shows up as well, because they're a trio really, and so they go to this rooftop, and on this rooftop we get the we get like the Spider-Man almost like kind of pointing meme at each other a little bit here because they're all like, whoa, which is awesome. It's so great. And so they go to the rooftop. Peter's there. We get the Peter and Spider-Man like pointing meme. The Peter all the Spider-Man. We get 3 Spider-Men. They decide to work on cures for all of the villains. Doc Ock has been taken care of. They need to combat the Green Goblin formula, the Lizard formula, and they need to be able to recreate the Electro fix and the fix for Sandman. So they all start working on it. They're all running diagnostics while they're running this and doing the lab stuff. Like, it's really great. Each of the, like, Tom Holland gets to have kind of like a moment talking with all with each of the Spider-Men. They even like joke about Tobey Maguire making webbing from like inside himself because Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland have to make web shooters and make their own webbing for it, so they're just curious if the webbing comes from just the just the wrists or not. It's really funny. It's really great. It's really good stuff. It's what you wanted from three spider. Like they did this. I don't know if I can stress this enough. I never thought I'd see this, ever at all. I never thought I'd see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield come back playing Spider-Man. Never in a million years ever thought that. But we got it. They're here, and with Tom Holland, and it's great. And seeing them all work together is really awesome, because then there's also a point where Ned's like, Peter, and all three of them look, oh, me, Parker, Spider-Man, no, that doesn't work. We're all. It's just so it's a very sweet movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It is so good. And then we get the once they figure out everything, they figure out all of the cures, what they need to do, or what they needed to make for each of the different villains here. And then we get the end battle, basically. We get Tom Holland calling out the villains, saying, meet me at the Statue of Liberty. The battles are messy. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, which is really interesting that they address this here. They've never fought on a team. They don't know how to work with other people other than themselves to save the day, which is really great, because this gives Tom Holland a chance, as like really those other two Spider-Man like were really consoling him, like telling him to like don't go down the dark path and stuff over Aunt May and like her death, like get yourself back, like it's okay. And then he in the midst of battle, Tom Holland, who has just been receiving advice and all good stuff from these other two is able to step up right away and say, all right, I'm Peter 1, you're Peter 2, you're Peter 3. This is what we're going to do. I have fought with the Avengers. I am an Avenger. I've fought in space. Like we can do this. You're going to listen to me, and we're going to figure it out, together and stuff. And like that's what they do. And then they execute the plan, and they slowly, one by one, start curing all of the villains. They start with Sandman. They do Sandman, Lizard. They, with the help of Doc Ock, they're able to get Electro. And then finally, the Green Goblin shows up again and, is not going down without a fight. And in this Green Goblin fight, Goblin shows up. Goblin shows up the same just after Doctor Strange shows up. Doctor Strange shows up, gets out of the mirror universe, and is like, where are they? And is really mad and angry, but like is there with Ned and MJ, who's like, whoa, but hold on, look at like Peter's plan's like working. He's like giving them another chance. Like he sees that Sandman's been cured, that Lizard's been cured, that Doc Ock and Electro have like been cured in that sense and have been healed, and it's really great. It's really like Doctor Strange is just like, wow, this is quite amazing. Like I did not think that this could happen, and you guys did it. The thing is that then as Peter is as the three Spider-Men are still fighting Green Goblin trying to take him down, the multiverse starts to fracture even more again. And Doctor Strange starts to fracture after a Green Goblin blew up Doctor Strange's box, the reset box that would send everybody back, basically to right before their death. All the villains that we saw: Electro, Sandman, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Lizard, would all be sent back to their time with that reset button, and right before they would die. And so Goblin got rid of it. Doctor Strange is trying to control it all right now, and it's so good. Like when you see this split here, you see like Rhino and like Black Cat. You see Mysterio. Like you see all of these different Spider-Man like villains and characters and stuff, kind of popping up, and it just makes you go like, oh my god, there's so much that they can do. There's still so many different types of Spider-Man like rogues and like part of his rogues gallery that we can talk about and use and play with. That's just like awesome. And the multiverse opens it up. The multiverse opens us all up to that, and it's like awesome. It's so great, so cool. Yeah, I just love it. I just love it so much. And eventually it is we see Norman and the Spideys fighting just Green Goblin. And when it comes again to the Spider-Man villains, Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, top two, I love it because now at this point we have Green Goblin with the clear like purple kind of like hood with the green like suit that he had from the Raimi films, with just like this little hood poncho that's like a diamond basically on either side of him, and it's just so cool. It's so great on as the movie progressed from the intro of Green Goblin, how he became more and more comics accurate. Again, same thing with Electro from when he is first introduced in this, and how he became more and more comics accurate with his costuming and stuff as the movie went on. It's kind of hard to mess up Doc Ock. Like he's just, I mean, I guess he's not a classic like green and orange in that sense, but he still has like a kind of muted color like trench coat and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, I really liked I've always liked Alfred Molina's look of like his Doc Ock, like that costume design and stuff of his in particular. I've always liked it, especially for like a live action and stuff. Gotta talk about as Tom Holland takes off with Green Goblin and starts fighting him. Tobey Maguire is leaving Sandman in the by the Statue of Liberty's like flame / cap shield. We get Andrew Garfield gets 100% redemption. He saves Mary Jane. He saves Zendaya from falling, and she lives. It's not like with an Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Gwen Stacy dies, where she dies falling, and Andrew Garfield, you know, Spider-Man Peter Parker isn't there to save her. Doesn't save her that time, but he does this time. And the emotional impact that like Andrew Garfield gives, like his performance there of like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then like he starts to like cry. I started crying. Oh man, it was great. He saved her. He saved her. So good. This movie was so good. Oh, I just love it. I love it so much. And we get, so as Garfield is saving Zendaya, MJ, we get Tobey Maguire stopping Tom Holland from killing the Green Goblin, saying it's not worth it. Don't do it. You're going to regret it. You just saved all of them. Don't let this one get away from you. Don't do it. And he stops him. And it's the look that Tom Holland has and him getting ready to slam the glider down on him like that is 100% very, very reminiscent of U.S. Agent from Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we would have saw earlier this year. Of spoilers for that, when U.S. Agent kills that dude on the steps with Cap Shield, like, whoo-wee. That is, that was wild. I never expected that. But Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, Spider-Man stops Tom Holland's Peter Parker, Spider-Man from doing that. And in it, gets stabbed in the back by the Green Goblin because the Green Goblin's a dick. Andrew Garfield comes in, knocks out Green Goblin, and puts the cure into him. They help out Tobey Maguire, and Doctor Strange is still fixing everything. Tom Holland says goodbye to Spider-Man, and as they're going away, or as they're about to go away, Tom Holland leaves. They're staying on Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And Andrew Garfield just kind of says to Tobey Maguire, "You're in so much pain right now, aren't you?" Yeah, I am. And he's like, yeah, I am. It sucks. But all of that is so good. Peter goes back and tells Doctor Strange, do the original spell. Everyone forgets Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Everyone forgets it. Nobody knows it anymore. And so everyone forget Peter Parker. Everyone forget Peter Parker. And Doctor Strange is like, okay, it was nice knowing you, kid. And does it, seems to seal everything off, and we get it. But before all of that finishes, Tom Holland does talk with Ned and MJ and says, hey, this is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to find you. I'm going to come find you, and when I do, I will make you remember. And Ned's like, yeah, sure, man, whatever, that's fine. Do what you got to do. I trust you. And MJ's a little bit more nervous about it. Like, well, what if you don't find me? How are you going to make me remember? And, like, Tom Holland's just like, don't worry. I'll do it. And then we get the little coffee sweet shop thing. We see it earlier in the movie at one other time when when Ned and MJ and Tom Holland's Peter Parker all open up their rejection letters from MIT. So in this one, in this scene, Peter goes in, Ned is there, or walks in shortly after him. Ned and MJ, Zendaya's MJ, have a friendship still. They're still friends. They're, getting ready to go to MIT together. Peter walks in. We see Peter, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, walk in, and on his way, in, he has a note card about, all the things he's going to say. And then he sees Ned and MJ not recognize him and not have the burdens of what it comes to know Peter Parker and who he is and what that cost means to people. Um, it was like heart wrenching because Peter orders a coffee, puts that note card away in his pocket, and walks out, which you can only leave to believe that he lets them be in peace now. Like he doesn't yet, at least as far as we know, he lets them be their own people out of his life for the rest of his life, for the rest of their lives. We'll never see each other again, which is really sad. Like for as good and as like hopeful and as like fun of a movie as this is, it's kind of sad that like he thinks the right thing is like by him not being in their lives, they'll have a better life without him, basically, better opportunities. I don't know. I know MIT is a great school, but I don't know if that necessarily will mean that they still go. I don't know. I like my friends. I'd like to keep them around. So I don't know. I don't agree with this move necessarily here, Peter. I think you made a mistake, sir. But now like the other thing is that like they can also leave Spider-Man out of the MCU forever now because he can just leave. But they can still use Tom Holland in just Sony only like produced Spider-Man movies. So it'll be interesting to see like kind of what happens in the future here with Spider-Man in the MCU and all of that. Overall, then like that's how the movie ends. Overall, I loved this movie. I thought it was so great. I thought it was so awesome. I saw it twice in theaters. And I just loved it. Like I just can't sing its praises enough. This is such a fun movie. This is such a cool movie. I will say that you don't need to rewatch any of the Sam Raimi movies or any of the Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb directed Amazing Spider-Man movies. You don't need to rewatch them to like enjoy this movie. This movie is plenty good on its own without having the prior knowledge. It just like having prior knowledge of those other movies is just so great to have. In this, again, my favorite thing is Willem Dafoe in this. His portrayal of Green Goblin, I think, is Oscar worthy. Best supporting actor, like for sure. I would love to see it. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll give. Maybe Marvel and like Disney will give a push for that for the Oscars. But I absolutely think that it leaps and bounds. And then I could be biased because Green Goblin's my favorite character, and we get a really comics accurate, probably the most like comics accurate like live action Green Goblin costume we'll probably ever get. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever do Green Goblin again. So that was really great. I loved every little bit of this movie. It is so good. It is well worth the watch. Now we got to talk about mid-credit and post-credit scene. Mid-credit, Venom, awesome. Him just hanging out at a bar being very confused about who the Avengers are and what it means to be a superhero and making a crack at his lethal protector joke and stuff like it was great. It was great. And then we get the little bit of the symbiote left behind to eventually meet Tom Holland, or maybe Hulk might get a venomized Hulk. I don't know. He's in the MCU. That little piece of Venom is in the MCU now. Anything is possible. Either way, loved that. I thought it was really great. Tom Hardy is a really great Eddie Brock. I like Tom Hardy a lot more than Topher Grace was in the Raimi third Spider-Man. And then we get the post-credit scene. After all the credits, we get the Doctor Strange trailer, the first Doctor Strange trailer, and that was really great. We also, spoilers, get a Dark Doctor Strange, which if you watched Marvel's animated What If, they have a Dark Doctor Strange episode in that, which is really great, and like that got me like really stoked for it. That episode's one of the better. It's like one of the top, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of the entire Marvel What If, the Dark Doctor Strange one, and I loved it. So I love seeing it. I love that we see Doctor Strange reaching out to Wanda and talking about like Westview and like events of WandaVision just a little bit, and it's great. Like I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I really want to thank you guys and gals and everybody out there who's joining us today on this Superhero Saturday for my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the first entry into the Marvel MCU that we are doing here for Superhero Saturdays. We have a bunch of other stuff planned for Superhero Saturdays coming down the pipeline here, so be excited for this. I, again, can't thank you enough for joining us. My name's Jimmy Clark. This is the Triple C Collective presents Superhero Saturdays Spider-Man No Way Home review.